such that for each time a human voice waveform changed from a peak to a valley, the radar transmitter sent out a single pulse, causing a single click to be heard by the test subject. Because these clicks were timed according to the human voice waveform, the test subject heard a voice, rather than a string of clicks. This has not been pursued, at least publicly, due to concerns about the effect of microwave signals aimed at a person's skull, but it does work. So this has not been pursued, at least publicly, but it is being privately pursued by third-party contractors and covered up, by the military-industrial complex in our country and other countries. And they are, as a matter of fact, experimenting on and torturing citizens with it, with other torture, with other electronic torture. I wouldn't call it electronic harassment. I know that's a term used, but it's more than just harassment. It's torture and murder. In actual fact, a suitably modified amateur radio transmitter operating in either the 420 to 450 MHz band or the 1.3 GHz band with a highly directional antenna is capable of transmitting voice-to-skull signals at less cost than the price of an automobile. In addition to simply driving a target crazy, voice-to-skull can cause far more severe damage to a targeted person if instead of audible voice, one of the several types of subliminal voice is transmitted instead. When the subliminal voice is that of a hypnotist and is aimed at a targeted person's bed, voice-to-skull can be used over time to undetectably program the person. Because the power level required is fairly modest, being something like the output of the common heat lamp, the person being programmed could have no idea this is happening. A person who is highly susceptible to hypnosis, and about 1 in 5 are, could be put through living hell simply by the way of subliminal voice-to-skull. It is common for psychoelectronic mind control victims to report a very frequent or constant ringing in the ears, which is also a symptom of the Lowery method of subliminal voice conversion. Lowery's method is described in U.S. Patent 5159703, and such a converter can easily be built by someone with reasonable electronic assembly abilities. And that's also something that we need to discuss. A lot of people, Dwight Magnum has said that, he doesn't get audible V2K all the time, but he has actually recorded the tinnitus sound using super sensitive speakers and actually picked out voices in it. And a lot of TIs, myself included, think that when you are hearing the high-pitched sound, you are actually getting subliminal V2K. So a lot of people think that, there are some target individuals who are like, well, I don't get, V2K because I don't hear audible voices, but most get the high-pitched tinnitus sound, which a lot of TIs think. So a lot of TIs say that every TI really gets voice-to-skull. Effects of radiation harassment technology, V2K technology. Perps, perpetrator or the harasser, have technology that in a nutshell can do the following. They are a very faint sound, therefore a person interprets them as their own thoughts. Since they are very faint sound, only those things that are known to a person can be manipulated. Put it simply, they won't be able to teach you Chinese. An example of this is that if a person says a sentence very slowly and close to your ears, then you will only understand it if you know it or parts of it. Otherwise, your interpretation of what's being said would be different as compared to what is actually said. Perps use other means to make a person dwell on things that were unknown to them, like after listening to a news article or even other people saying something similar that perps would want a target to direct their thoughts on. Effects related to this are listed below. They can vibrate certain muscles. Effects related to that are mentioned below. Certain parts in the nervous system react to them. Effects related to this are mentioned below. They can cause power surges, give throat irritation or mucus formation, watery mouth, hyperventilation, sudden shortness of breath, vibrate certain muscles in our body, give different body aches and pains, especially backache, tinnitus, or something that sounds like tinnitus, clogged ears, like the way it feels when the elevation changes, like in a plane or in elevators. If a person has an existing condition like a cut or infection, they can make it very, very painful, more painful. nausea, headaches. Listen to a person's thoughts. Yes, that's what they are capable of. Lots of time during early manipulation, that's what a person complains of, that someone knows what they are thinking, or watching them all the time. However, not all of this is true. Some of those thoughts are manipulated by perps. Manipulate a person's thoughts by putting specific words while a person is thinking. Manipulate a person's emotions by making them angry or inducing anxiety or even making a person cry or laugh. They can cause simple sounds to occur again and again. For instance, if a pager is set to simple beep, then they make a person to think that the pager is on, yet when it's not. They can cause surges. Yes, the lights that went out recently in New York is their doing. I guess there was a blackout in New York. They can make minor malfunctions in electronic equipment, causing them to flicker or even in some case render the equipment useless. Any sensor-driven machine is prone to them. They can cause a light sensor to activate at night, causing the light to go out. They can tamper with the thermostats, causing the air conditioner to come on or the refrigerator to malfunction or cause the car to overheat. Alright, beaming voices. Until recently, people who believe the government is beaming voices into their heads would have added social isolation to their catalog of woes. But now many have discovered hundreds, possibly thousands of others just like them all over the world. Websites dedicated to electronic harassment and gang stalking have popped up in India, China, Japan, South Korea, and the United Kingdom, Russia, and elsewhere. Victims have begun to host support meetings in major cities, including Washington. Favorite topics at the meetings include lessons on how to build shields, the proverbial tinfoil hats, media and PR training, and possibly legal strategies for outlawing mind control. The biggest hurdle for TIs is getting people to take their concerns seriously. A proposal made in 2001 by Representative Dennis Kucinich, Democrat from Ohio, to ban psychotronic weapons, another common term for mind control technology, was hailed by TIs as a great step forward. But the bill was widely derided by bloggers and columnists and quickly dropped. Doug Gordon, Kucinich's spokesman, would not discuss mind control other than to say the proposal was part of a broader legislation outlawing weapons in space. The bill was later reintroduced minus the mind control. It was not the concentration of the legislation, which is why it was tightened up and redrafted, was all Gordon would say. Patent. Sound is induced in the head of a person by radiating the head with microwaves in the range of 100 MHz to 10,000 MHz that are modulated with a particular waveform. The waveform consists of frequency-modulated bursts. Each burst is made up of 10 to 20 uniformly spaced pulses grouped tightly together. The burst width is between 500 nanoseconds and 100 microseconds. The pulse width is in the range of 10 nanoseconds to 1 microsecond. The bursts are frequency modulated by the audio input to create the sensation of hearing in the person whose head is irradiated. Susceptible to hypnosis. In actual fact, a suitably modified amateur radio transmitter operating either the 420 to 450 MHz band or the 1.3 GHz band with a highly directional antenna is capable of transmitting voice-to-skull signals at less cost than the price of an automobile. In addition to simply driving a target crazy, voice-to-skull can cause far more severe damage to a targeted person if instead of audible voice, one of several types of subliminal voice is transmitted instead. When the subliminal voice is that of a hypnotist, okay, I read this already, but I guess I'll just read it again. When the subliminal voice is that of a hypnotist and is aimed at a targeted person's bed, voice-to-skull can be used over time to undetectably program the person. Because the power level required is fairly modest, being something like the output of the common heat lamp, the person being programmed could have no idea this is happening. A person who is highly susceptible to hypnosis, and about 1 in 5 are, could be put through living hell simply by way of subliminal voice-to-skull. It is common for psychoelectronic mind control victims to report a very frequent or constant ringing in the ears, which is also a symptom of the Lowery method of subliminal voice conversion. Lowery's method is described in U.S. Patent 5159703, and such a converter can easily be built by someone with a reasonable electronic assembly abilities. see, it's pretty long. I guess I'll just read the rest of it. Might read up until about 30 minutes, guys, and kind of finish out information on Voice of Skull. I might talk about it personally on the next one. Psychological damage. When used as a non-lethal weapon system, it becomes an ideal means for neutralizing or discrediting a political opponent. Peace protesters, inconvenient journalists, and the leaders of vocal opposition groups can be stunned into silence with this weapon. Artificial telepathy also offers an ideal means for complete invasion of privacy. If all thoughts can be read, then passwords, PIN numbers, and personal secrets simply cannot be protected. One cannot be alone in the bathroom or shower. Embarrassing private moments cannot be hidden. They are subject to all manner of hurtful comments and remarks. Evidence can be collected for blackmail with tremendous ease. All the wrongs or moral lapses of one's past are up for review. Like a perverted phone caller, a hostile person with this technology in hand can call at any time of the day, all day long. Sleep can be disrupted. Prayers can be desecrated. Religious beliefs mocked. Business meetings can be interrupted. Thoughts derailed. Love can be polluted, perverted, twisted, abused. Dreams can be invaded. Fond memories trashed. The attacker cannot be seen or identified. The attack cannot be stopped. And the psychological damage is enormous. But there is no physical damage. Not one single mark is left on the body, and there is absolutely no proof that any crime or any violation ever took place. They're talking about voice to skull and some of the remote neural monitoring, but some of the directed energy attacks, there's a lot of physical damage. The psychological. Everything that happens to the victim happens inside the victim's head. What physical evidence is there to give the police? Without physical evidence, how can one photograph the crime scene or fingerprint the stalker? There are no footprints leading to or from the scene. Indeed, there is no physical scene at all and no evidence that an attack ever took place. Most people who experience this abusive form of artificial telepathy feel as if their mind has been raped. Mind rape. They find themselves hunted, stalked, harassed, and abused by a person or persons who refuse to give their names, who defile one's mind with the most foul and perverse language imaginable, and who refuse to hang up or go away. The caller or callers delight in the perverse and sadistic torture of their targets. Furthermore, they delight in violating the privacy of their targets, reading the target's mind, and commenting on everything the target thinks, in an effort to demonstrate as brutally as possible that the target has no privacy at all. Severe torture, guys. Severe psychological torture, and all target individuals who have voice to skull or any of this, really, any of the electronic surveillance know that your privacy is gone. And I mean, these people, it's like a insane, perverted, prank caller who you can't get disconnected from. You can't unplug the phone or anything like that. And sometimes it's even worse than just a perverted prank caller. It gets very violent and scary, the things they say, because they do. My Voice to Skull many times has threatened to kill me, or they'll talk about killing me. They haven't really done it in a while. They've kind of stuck with a loop of, we need to get him out of here. Then it's the conversation between the man and the woman, her saying, I'm getting tired of this, and then he's like, no, we need to do this, we need to get him out of there, we need to put him away, and things like that, just like over and over again, that kind of narrative, and things like that. I might go over, I might kind of just talk a little while about kind of my thoughts and my experiences a little bit on the next one. But I'm going to try and end the November video marathon pretty strong. Give y'all more than probably 30 or more videos for this month, and just get the info out, guys. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I know I'm at about 30 minutes, but go to Targeted Individuals 101. This website has some really good information. Alright, guys, I will see you on the next one.